Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I am a wedding photographer at Lydia Rachel Photography and your host. On today's episode, number 90, I can't quite believe how close to 100 episodes we've been. It feels like I just started this podcast the other day, but how many wonderful conversations I've got to have and how much it has been able to help people. So very cool, very exciting. On this episode, I'm chatting with Kaitlyn. We actually recorded this only a few weeks after her wedding, so all very fresh in the mind. And yeah, it was lovely to hear her whole love story and being engaged for quite a while, having babies in that time of about 4 years, I think it was, and then eventually planning their beautiful day. We hear all about the proposal story, which definitely came as a surprise to a very pregnant Kaitlyn with a toddler in tow. How they originally thought they'd do quite a budget-friendly wedding, community hall kind of vibe, but deciding on a venue and going all out, and no regrets there. The experience of finding her dream dress and how it was different to what she had envisioned from looking online. The struggle with sticking to your decisions and not being swayed by all the amazing things you see online but maybe aren't that necessary. All about their day, how special it was to have their children there with them, and some really beautiful, memorable moments from the day. Kaitlyn had some great advice. This was a lovely chat, and make sure you go over to Instagram to check out some of her wedding photos as well. Enjoy episode 90 with Kaitlyn. Hi Kaitlyn, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. So excited to chat all about your wedding.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to go back over it and relive the day a little bit.
Cool. So to get started with, if you could just tell me a bit about you and your partner, how you guys met, and yeah, your life together.
Yeah, so we have known each other for probably about 10 years now. We've been together for coming up 8. We were sort of mutual friends for a wee while, and then we both had a life shift and sort of obviously became more than friends. And quite quickly after we got together, we found out we were having our first son, which was a shock at the time for us, but it was so much fun. And I think because we were young parents, we actually loved it. We had so much fun with him and growing up together. And then we bought our first house, and then we had our second son. Yeah, we've just sort of been busy with the parenting and the businesses and all of that stuff first, sort of done things a bit backwards, I suppose. Most people tend to do the wedding and then the babies thing, but we've done it the other way around. And he's a builder, and I'm just currently at home with the three little kids now, but I love it, and he loves what he does, and yeah.
Oh, so cool. It's kind of like you can do things in any order these days, to be
Absolutely,
honest. But
man.
yeah, so good. So you guys were together and ticked off all those kind of milestones, gone through a lot together for a while, and then you got engaged. Can you tell us a bit about the proposal story?
Yeah, so I was heavily pregnant with our second son, and Brett told me we were heading to Taupo, where he's from, for a baby shower. Which I thought was really sweet that he'd planned a baby shower. You know, I wasn't going to even have one for the second baby. And we got there, and he said, "Oh, before we go and meet with everyone, let's pop to this local dam," which is the first place he'd taken me when I first went to Taupo. And he was adamant we had to go to the top lookout, but it was midsummer. I was so pregnant. And I was like, no, let's just go to the car park lookout, have a look, and then we'll go get to the party. No, we've got it. We're going to go to the top. Okay, so we went with a toddler in tow up this hill, and I was so mad. I remember being like sweaty and just so, it was just not what you'd expect. And then we got to the top of the hill, and I remember leaning on a post to catch my breath. It was like February, so it's hot. And and then I turned around, and he was on one knee, and I can't repeat what I said because I was that shocked. Yeah, it was not your like textbook proposal, but then I noticed his 2 sisters were hidden in the bush taking photos, and our toddler was mid-tantrum. It was just very like parent life, I think. but wouldn't have it any other way. And some of the photos from that are so funny. Just our little boy absolutely losing it on the ground while we're trying to celebrate this beautiful moment. But no, it was lovely. And then we headed back to the house for what was then an engagement party, obviously not a baby shower, and everyone knew what was happening, so they were super stoked to be a part of it. And it was, yeah, really awesome and such good planning from him.
Oh, such a funny story. It's funny how many people say like, "Oh, I was so angry at him that day," or you like get caught in your worst
Yeah.
moment, but then it's like real surprise, then. So I love that. Had you been one of those girls that dreamed about your wedding? Did you have like a specific vision in mind? And what were those kind of first steps, finding a venue, all of
Yeah,
that?
so we were engaged for about 4 years. We actually had another baby in the time that we were engaged, so it really sort of went on the back burner. Initially, yes, I had all these huge plans. I knew what I wanted, and then that sort of slowly changed as I was having babies. But we got to a point where people around us were getting married, and I got a little bit frustrated because I wanted to just do it. I didn't really care how it looked. I just wanted to have the same surname as the babies and be in that, yeah, get it done sort of thing. That sounds so strange, but I just wanted it done. So initially we'd looked at just doing a backyard sort of wedding, but we changed it in the end, obviously, and did quite a elaborate, it became a big thing. We went and looked at only one venue. I fell in love with it straight away, and I knew that was where I wanted to get married. And then we booked it for less than a year. So we went from sort of waiting this huge amount of time to then like, no, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it. And I think it was about 10 months from when we had a look, and that was it. And yeah, I wanted the whole shebang in the end, and that's what we, yeah, did. And I wouldn't change it. It was awesome.
And yeah, did you have those sort of like top priorities in mind when you started actually planning your like most important elements for the day?
Yeah, I always said photos and video were the most important for me. And Brett couldn't fathom it. He thought, why would you want to spend the money on, like, he just could not get his head around that being the most important thing. But I said, it's so, it's sort of unheard of to have your three children there, like all of these things. I said, I want those memories. So for me, that was the first thing I did after a venue was find a photographer and videographer. I wanted both, which came at, a decent price, but I kept saying to him, it's all we have left at the end of this whole thing. That's what we have. And then food was my next big one. There's so many weddings you go to, and you sort of either leave hungry, it's beautiful food, but there's not a lot. And I was sort of like, I really want everyone to have full bellies, and we're quite a foodie family. So I was like, let's have full tummies and everyone just leave stuffed, I guess. And so, yeah, we ended up hiring a food truck, which was awesome. And they did burgers and chips, and it was just super easy going and casual dining, which is very us. And we loved it, and everyone raved about it. That was just incredible.
Sounds so good. It's definitely, I mean, I'm a photographer, so totally biased, but one of the most important things, those memories that you have after. And then I feel like everyone remembers the food, like you say. So, two super important things, definitely. Can you tell us a bit about your dress? How was that whole process, your wedding outfits, finding it, getting it made?
When I went in initially with my mum to try on dresses, I had I had an idea of what I thought I would love, and I was pretty adamant that's what I was going to have. I tried it on. That was the first one, and I hated it. It was just not at all what you see in the photos is not how it looked on me. So, which I think you hear quite often, that you have this thought in your head of what it would be, and then it turns out complete opposite. We ended up going to about 3 stores, and I narrowed it down to the style that I wanted, but it actually took us heading out of town to a little boutique at home place, and I found a really gorgeous gown. It was not too unique, but it had elements to it that were a bit different for me, and I was quite unsure on it. And I almost said yes to another dress that was the safe option, I suppose you'd say, for me. But something told me to put the other one back on, and as soon as I did, I knew that was the one for me, and it was, yeah, almost old Hollywood sort of vibes, which I really enjoyed. Especially knowing that we were going for that classic look. It was, yeah, perfect, and I, yeah, wouldn't change it. I loved it.
Oh, you looked so stunning. It's so funny how that happens. You like have this picture in your mind and then you end up hating it trying it on. So
Sure.
interesting to hear about that whole process. Did you have a bridal party as well? And what was that process like choosing them? Did you find it quite easy?
Yeah, I was in two minds. I was quite happy to almost not have a bridal party, not because I didn't have people I would have loved there, but purely that it does come at quite a cost if you opt to pay for everything for them, which I said if we had a bridal party, that's what we wanted to do. And then I was sort of like, oh, let's have two. We'll have two each. But Brett said, no, I want four. And I thought, okay, well, if you've got four, I'd like to have four because something in my mind just wanted it the same on both sides. So we ended up having, yeah, four each. Brett had a childhood friend and then two good friends from high school and another friend who he'd met through hunting and that sort of thing. And yeah, it was an awesome mix of guys for him. They were so much fun on the day and in the lead up. They were just so easygoing. And then for myself, I had my cousin, who's been my best friend forever, and three friends who I actually met later in life. They weren't childhood friends like I'd always sort of anticipated I would have. They're sort of people that have been quite present in recent years for us. And yeah, same thing. They were just so great in the lead up, happy to wear whatever, be wherever they needed to be, and just kept it super easy for us.
It's definitely helpful just having those key people around you in the lead up and then on the day, like sets a really nice vibe
Does.
too. And how about the guest list? Did you find that quite tricky to narrow down? How many did you end up having?
That one was really difficult. Our venue had a cutoff of 100 people. So that sort of made it easy in some respect because you knew you had to cap it there. But we started with a huge list of everybody, extended family, and then we sort of went through and said if we wouldn't have them over for dinner or wouldn't have, an easy flowing conversation with them, do they really need to be there? My mum has a lot of siblings, so that was really tricky because you want all the aunties and uncles there, but the way it played out just it couldn't be that way because we both have such big families. You sort of have to pick who has the biggest role in your life at the time, I suppose. But bringing it back to having the whole wedding filmed, I think that sort of eased my mind because I knew people would get to experience it some way or other and they weren't going to entirely miss out. But we had about 75 in the end, which was really nice and not super overwhelming to come out to, which was one thing I was scared of seeing that amount of people, but it wasn't too bad for us.
Yeah, that's such a sweet spot. I feel like around that number that you can still chat to
Yes.
everyone. And yeah, so interesting to hear about your process because, yeah, it can be such a hard one and you do have to be a bit brutal at
You do,
points.
yeah.
But I love that. Like, would you go for dinner with them? Would you be able to have a flowing chat? Good ones to think about, definitely. Can you tell us a bit about your big day, maybe some of the lead up to that week and yeah, any highlights or favorite moments?
Yeah, so on our big day, I feel like the thing that like sticks in my brain was how hot it was. We had I'd almost say a mild summer up until that weekend, and then we woke up that morning at about 6 a.m. and Gabby and Hannah came round to do our hair, and yeah, from there it was a great morning. As I say, hot, and our Airbnb, as beautiful as it was, had no air conditioning, so us girls were like
Oh.
just struggling with the heat, but we yeah, spent the morning getting ready together, and that was lovely. My daughter was there, which was super fun being able to get her ready with the big girls, and the boys were not too far away, but they had a pool. Just such a different morning to the girls. I feel they were swimming and having a barbecue while we were rushing around. Our steamer had broken the night before, so we were trying to deal to the dresses and it was not a chaotic morning, but there was a lot to be done. And then time to leave, we were actually almost ready too early, and it meant sitting in our dresses, overheating for a wee while. And I honestly hadn't felt nervous at all morning until we got into the car to leave. And I was that's when it hit me, I think, that, oh, we're going now. It wasn't the dress, it was just heading to the venue. A few of the girls had been quite emotional all morning. I was fine. And then we got there. And when I saw Anna, who runs Te Miro Woolshed, waving us to come in the driveway, that's when I got quite emotional, which I didn't think I would. I always said I wouldn't be a crier, I wouldn't find it, but it really was quite a moment. And we lined up to go down the aisle, and my little girl walked down and did such a sweet job. She was just looking at everybody. And yeah, when I came out, I opted to walk on my own, which was, in the lead up, it was quite I didn't think it was such a big decision, but then in the moment, it's actually, yeah, it was quite powerful having to walk myself down. But I figured I'd done everything else so backwards anyway. That was something I sort of wanted to do on my own. And yeah, I loved it. It was such a great moment. And then by the time I got up the front, you really don't notice everyone. And, you see everyone's there, but you're not worried about that. I thought I'd be really nervous to say the vows and do all of the things. But yeah, you're just so in that moment, you're quite happy to just say it. And then, yeah, we got married and celebrated, headed off for photos, which again, really hot, but we had a great time down with Jim and Ryan, who did our photos. It was awesome. It was like hanging out with old mates. We had so much fun. And yeah, headed back to the party, and we'd said that all we wanted when we got back was sort of a barbecue vibe and everyone having a good time, and it was exactly that. Everyone was relaxed and happy, and yeah, it was awesome. I would not change a thing.
Oh, sounds like such a dreamy day. So many good moments in there. Yeah, so interesting about the ceremony as well. It is so nerve-wracking, and I feel like good on you for walking yourself down, because that's even like a nervy moment. But yeah, once you get there, it's like you're focusing on each other, and the heat is tough though. There's been some very hot weddings this summer too. Even right now, I'm very sweaty, but
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
the humidity and everything.
It was crazy. I remember the week before I said to the girls we should get fans and have little fans. They're like, we won't need them. And we were there and we all thought we should have brought the fans. This was crazy.
Good advice for people if you're getting married in that summertime. What did you find the hardest part about the whole planning process? Is there anything you look back on and regret or would have done a little bit differently?
I actually really enjoyed it. I think you hear a lot how stressful it is. The only thing I think, and this is probably a quite a personal thing, is letting people help a little more. It's quite easy to get into the mindset of like, I know what needs to be done, so I should just do it. And it wasn't ever stressful. I never felt stressed about it, but I did feel bad because on the day of the wedding, my stepdad got stuck with all these little jobs I hadn't really accounted for that he would end up having to do in the heat while he wanted to also be getting ready, but there was just no one else to do it. Because I got very stuck on, I wanted our guests to be guests, and that was it. I didn't want everybody having to fuss, but I think people are usually very happy to fuss, and they actually want to. A lot of people want to help. They feel like they're, so definitely taking the help from people. And my other thing would be just, I got very caught up on seeing things online and thinking, oh, we haven't done that. Do we need to do that? Oh, we should. So and so did this and it looked great. Maybe we need to do that. And you're just piling on a lot more, probably unnecessary stress for things that a lot of people wouldn't have even noticed on the day was there. So I was very guilty of that. Finding things on Pinterest. Yes, we need to add this. And poor Brett was just like, we need to stop. That's all we need to do.
Yeah. Oh, it's so easy to get carried away. I think, yeah, everyone kind of falls into that. I mean, your social media just starts serving you everything weddings, and then the trends change so quickly. You just see all these new things pop up, like we should do that. It's so fun. But yeah, I guess you have to get to this point where you just decide to stop and stop spending money, stop planning, stick with what you've chosen. That's a great point you made as well about handing over. I think it's so hard to, like, I don't know, it's almost like this baby, like this creative project event thing that you've like planned and worked on for so long, but to just hand over that control a little bit before the day so you can just like enjoy it and yeah, not get one of your family members to be running around or whatever. But yeah,
It,
happens all the
it
time.
does. And I think that's the other thing is, yeah, with the not getting caught in the trap. I think there's a point, and most brides that I've spoken to have said the same. You get to a point where $5,000 feels like $50, and you're just like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Let's add that in. And these poor husbands are thinking, no, let's not add that in. But you're just so in planning mode, it becomes really easy to just think of it as, oh, we really need to add that in, you know? So yeah, it's a trap that it gets a lot of people, I feel.
Yes, no, I feel like that's so relatable for people. It's just like another 100
Yeah,
there, 500 there, but yeah, all adds up.
it does.
And yeah, it's hard to like stick to those priorities that you're thinking of in the start and yeah, what's actually important to you. I think yeah, have to always keep coming back to
Yeah,
that.
and looking back on it, you sort of think your day's perfect however it pans out. And I look at quite a few things now and I think if that hadn't been there, the day still would have felt perfect. We would have just saved that amount of money. And it's so hard because you think these things are going to contribute to your day being wonderful, but realistically, without them, it would be just as beautiful. So I think, especially for people who are trying to do it and saving, and it is tricky, it's a really good thing to keep in mind that at the end of it all, your day's going to feel perfect, however it's done.
Such good advice there. Did you guys have a set budget if you're happy to talk about what that was? And yeah, how did you find that whole process? I mean, we've touched on there how it just all adds up at the end, but yeah, how did you go with that as a whole?
Well, originally, as I'd said earlier, we actually were going to do it on the cheap. We'd gone and looked at community halls and we'd gone and looked at all these things. And I said, yeah, I'm sure we're currently renovating a house. So I thought, I don't want to spend all this money on a single day, but I still want to get something out of it. We set a budget of, I think, 17,000, which at the time I said, I can do it. I'm pretty savvy. I can do it. And I very quickly realized that you can do it, but the amount of savvy that you need to be, I was not ready to be that. So that came with yeah, we moved the budget. Originally we'd said again 35,000. When you Googled it, that was the number. And I can confirm overshot that again by a good mile. We were really lucky in terms of, I know sometimes online you see these weddings and families pay for the whole wedding. We didn't have that, but we got gifted about $5,000 total towards it, which was amazing and a huge help. And my dress was gifted to me by my mum, which was again a massive help. But in total, the day cost us around 43,000, and loved it again, no regrets. But yeah, it's a crazy thing to look at. What I think we did our wedding quite simply. We wanted to keep it classic but simple, and even that is such a huge cost that me a year ago would have been, no, I could do it a lot. I could do it for a lot less. But it is tricky to do it for a lot less, and I think we definitely realize the privilege of being able to save for a wedding in the climate that we're in at the moment. It was hard work, it took a lot of saving and that constantly working, and you are sort of sacrificing a lot. I found socially we sort of can't do that, we can't go for that because we're saving for this wedding. So it's a huge sacrifice, but one that I'm really glad we made, and yeah, we loved.
Yeah, for that kind of number of guests, like that's a pretty normal figure these days. And it's just like, yeah, like you say, quite hard to get under that, even with yeah, finding different ways to save and things. But yeah, I think that's so relatable for people that there is maybe going to be this season of sacrifice and that like year or so leading up to your wedding. And yeah, it's amazing when family pitch in, and it's great that you had a little bit of that. But yeah, such a real experience.
For sure. I think it's, yeah, just being prepared to sort of really zone into that wedding for that year and be prepared to just do it if that's really what you sort of want to do. And we did. And yeah, it was, you get through it. And that year seems to fly by. We found it flew by. The wedding just turned up as quick as it was thought of. So that made it a little bit easier to get through. But yeah, it's definitely good to, I think, have a bigger number in mind, and then maybe it wouldn't feel like such a shock at the end for us when we tallied it up. We were like, wow, we really did not stick to that initial budget.
Yeah. So many chats I've had, it's just like, I don't know, maybe you should think of a number and then add like definitely at least 5-10 grand that probably, or just like plan for a little buffer, especially just in that like key time, like a month leading up. And there's, yeah, lots of little things that pop up.
Yes,
But
it is the little things.
yeah. Did you guys go on honeymoon at all? Have you been planning that, or did you go away straight away? What did that look like?
We weren't going to do a honeymoon. We said, no, we don't need to. Like, we've got 3 kids, we're busy, we don't need to. But everyone said to us, no, you need to, you need to do a honeymoon. So a lot of people in our wishing well contributed toward that. So we've put some aside, and we're thinking in the winter time we might head. We're not sure where yet. Again, with the 3 kids, it's just such a busy season and a hard one to get babysitters when you've had them for your wedding and you know days after and things. But it's definitely something we want to book soon, so that it doesn't just become something you're going to do and then you never do it. We really do want to do it. It's just working out where we want to go, given that we don't get the opportunity to do it often. It makes you want to think about it even more, so like it needs to be where we really want to go.
Nice. It's cool to have something else to think about and look forward to, and yeah, figure out where you want to go and keep the kind of wedding love going for a while, I guess. How did you find that? Just like from the perspective of a parent, I guess I feel like there's quite a few people planning weddings with just being busy mum and dad life. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that?
When you're not going out as much, and we're quite a social family prior, that was quite tricky for them to suddenly get used to having our weekends at home and doing a little bit more around the house. And they adjusted pretty quickly, and we're pretty transparent with them and let them know that this is why we're doing it. We're saving so we can have a really awesome day with you guys and the family and all of these things. But the big effect really came that the week leading up, I think they really noticed how busy we were. Mum was in and out with spray tans and nails and picking things up and just all those little things. And yeah, they definitely pick up on that. So I noticed a few days after the wedding, they were pretty tired and emotional and all of the things. But on the day itself, they loved it. They had such a great time. They sat there just mesmerized by having everyone there, I think, and seeing everyone dressed up. They're not used to seeing that. It was, yeah, really awesome to see them taking it all in as much as we were.
Oh, so sweet. It's definitely like a big time for little ones, but then also so special that they have been able to be there as well, because often people's kids aren't at their wedding, depending what way around you end up doing things. But yeah, special like memories and photos for you guys to be able to have and look back on too.
For sure. Yeah, they were. Yeah, it was really special just being able to see them in the front row. And when I came down the aisle, the 2 little boys, particularly, they popped out their heads and they were looking at me, which was so lovely because it gave me that, like, oh, we've made it. Like, there they are. We're good. Like,
Did you have any like helpful resources that you used during planning different like websites or apps in terms of finding vendors or inspo, stuff like that?
I lived on Pinterest, which I think is really common, but you've sort of got your Pinterest board from forever ago. I feel most girls with weddings, and it's quite fun looking at the progression. But I definitely spent a lot of time creating new boards and things like that. And the other really good one for us was the Knot. We made our wedding website through them. And because of the way we did food, we actually got people to let us know what burger they wanted, and it sort of correlated all that information onto a spreadsheet for me to then pass on, which made my life easier, and it made the planning process so much easier, having all their dietary requirements just written. I didn't need to chase for those. It was all there, and that was their RSVP was online. I didn't have to chase for that either. It was all just in one spot, easy, done. And everyone found it super simple. So that was a really awesome resource.
Yeah, such a good recommendation. It's so helpful just having that all in one place. You've given some amazing advice already, but is there anything else you would say to a couple planning their wedding at the moment?
I just think live in the moment as much as you can on the day is a huge one. Everyone told us that, and you definitely try to, but it is such a blur. It just goes so fast, and you're just loving every minute. It's even looking back now, only 2 3 weeks sort of later, it's crazy what you forget or what feels like a fuzzy memory already. So I think taking the time through the day to just look at what you've done and all of the things, and it's particularly for brides. I got someone to send me a picture of the ceremony space. I wasn't able to get there, so they sent me a photo just to see it come together before everyone's in there, and was quite special because you do have a vision, and it was lovely to see it be set up exactly how I expected and all of the things. But definitely just take the day in for what it is, because it just goes so quickly.
Oh, that's such great advice, definitely. And I don't know if much would have changed for you or felt like it so far, and it's very fresh, which is exciting. But what is married life like? Do you feel like you got any of the post wedding blues?
I think that it's funny that first sort of week or two after it was like that initial dating phase where you're in that honeymoon period, which we haven't had for a very long time because we've had children so close together, and businesses and work life. So all of the things, it was really lovely to just be in that love bubble again for a while. Um, Post wedding blues, not too bad. Probably only recently, as you start to, as I said, look back and things feel a bit fuzzy, and the memory of it is all a bit, oh, what happened there, and oh, what, where were they sitting, and who did I speak to, and that's sort of what got me is that. But I'm really looking forward to getting our video and the rest of our photos back and being able to watch it on repeat and catch all those moments that I didn't get to see. But it's also just a relief that it's done now, not only to not have to save anymore for that and being able to get back to normal life, but also just for us having all the same surname. That's been a huge one. Been many years where I've been the odd one out in our household, so it's really awesome. The kids even love it. You've got our name now, and it's really cool.
Oh, special. It's just like, I don't know, solidifying the family. Not that you weren't before, but yeah,
Sure.
so good. Amazing. It's been so lovely to chat to you today. Is there anything else that we missed or you want to add as we wrap up?
No, I think that's great, and thank you so much for having me. And I've definitely listened to so many episodes in the lead up to our wedding, so I hope something in this one can be helpful for other people, especially people planning it with children or anything like that.
Yeah, oh, so good. Thanks for listening. So nice to have listeners come on and talk about their own journey afterwards as well. So, yeah, this will definitely be helpful. I think people will get a lot out of it. So, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.